G'day, it's your old mate Non-Rasputin, and here we have our next project. It is a 2008 Series 1 Holden Commodore VE. Now this particular beast has had a few owners since it's left the police force, but it still bears the remnant features of a VE police car of that period. This was an unfinished project for the last guy that owned it. This had some fueling problems. He had tried to get it going again, had some issues, he had had enough, and basically gave up on it, and it was heading to the scrapyard. So I offered him a little bit more than what the scrapyard was offering and managed to snap it up, and here we are today with our next project.
But let's go back to the start. How did we find this Ex-Police VE Commodore with an alloy tech engine? You guessed it, Facebook Marketplace.
What?
The owner had had enough of trying to get this thing going. Basically, it had sat in a hedge for a long time, and now he wanted to get rid of it for scrap.
Oh, yeah. You get a helmet with a hat with it.
Yeah, man, yeah.
My daughter's head of the CIB.
That's hilarious. Is that right?
Everyone's is the early one, FX.
That was replaced because it was cracked. So, yeah.
So when's the last time it ran?
What followed was an hour and a half of disaster until it was finally loaded up.
Alright, so we finally got that VE on the back. It was a mission. The trailer broke, the handle broke, the jockey wheel fell off, I had to kick something off, the chains were stuck. Anyways, crisis averted, we got the thing on and we're heading back south. These VEs were the bee's knees when it came to patrol cars. They were amazing. They had steel wheels, they had the 3.6 engine, they were practically bulletproof. You can see why the cops had them. Loads of room, loads of power, good cars generally, all around.
This is like the first hybrid Commodore. It's part steel, part swamp. There's more stuff growing on this thing than there is growing in my garden.
So as you can see, this has the alloy tech engine, the 3.6. Oh yeah. Nothing like a bit of scrumpy when you're working on the car. Looks like there's a catch can here. I believe the last owner put this on there. Perhaps there's a bit of a sludge issue. Inside, a few bits of plastic have been removed to try and fault find why it wasn't running. Interior has a little bit rough. Hood lining's great, so that's cool. In the back, things have been sort of disassembled partially, and underneath here a hatch has been cut in order to get access to the fuel pump. So it lines up with the fueling issue that was mentioned. Yeah, pretty dirty from sitting next to a hedge for an extended period of time. This is cool. They can stay with the car. Body is fairly straight. Doesn't have the sort of the usual multitude of dents that these police cars do have. This is fairly normal. So the paint is definitely in rough condition, just from mold and mildew and just sitting there for quite some time, so we'll have to address that. So it has the police aerials here, which is a nice touch. Before we get started working on this thing, let's give this thing a jolly good clean. Okay, so in order to check spark, I'm just disconnecting one of the coil packs, taking it out, plug it in upside down, grab an old spark plug, and then I'm going to ground the body of the spark plug to a suitable grounding point. That looks pretty good. And then give it a crank. Alright, so we don't have spark, and so I'm kind of leaning towards the crank position sensor. So I do have a spare one here. It's a genuine GM part, so there's no point going with the cheaper one or a second-hand one, because if you go to pick apart and you grab it off the car there, you don't actually know whether it's actually good or not, and it might actually just be in the wrecking yard because the crank angle position sensor is wrong. So anyways, we've got this one here, we're going to pop it in, and we'll see whether this yields any good results. Okay, there's the sensor up there, the new one bolted in. It's not in a great spot, it's pretty hard to get to, you definitely got to go from underneath, but managed to get there in the end. So, got a decent day in Auckland, sun's out, cork and guns out. We're just going to get started on getting this intake manifold off. Pretty dirty actually, do with a decent clean, and I do note quite a bit of oil in there too. Right, so I'll pop this all back together. I'm comfortable that we have fuel delivery now, that we've squirted fuel all over the place. Don't do what I do. This is for entertainment purposes only. If you find a better way to test it, sweet. I wouldn't advise powering it up and spraying fuel all over the place if you don't have to. That's my disclaimer. Alright, so everything's back together. Let's kick it in the guts and see what it does. Whew. It smells really gassy. It's a good start though. It's the first time I'll be able to sort of get it at least firing up. So I'll call that a minor success for now until I can actually figure out what's going on. I am suspecting that because we have fuel, I'm going to start looking at the sparks next. Yeah, I did inspect the spark plugs when I pulled this out, and they looked okay-ish. But obviously, I'll do a bit of a scan on the using my scanning tool and just see what's actually going on there. Right, so we do have misfires on 5, 6, 3, and random, which is kind of what we can see anyway. Let's just swap out those spark plugs with some spares that I've got lying around. So here I have a set of coils that I replaced on an earlier car I had. Turned out probably wasn't the issue, and I replaced the spark plugs at the same time, and these ones are pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll chuck these in and just see if this makes a difference now that she's actually starting to kick. Right, so we managed to get this thing going, but she's not running that smoothly at all. So let's crank it up. So it seems to have developed a TCM fault. And there she starts sort of running a bit rough there, but give it any sort of revs, it kind of just bogs down. Right, interesting thing I've noticed is that around this catch can, if I start spraying this engine start, it starts to recover. So it's a bit of a worry there. There's something a bit dubious here. I'm just going to get rid of this catch can, to be honest. I don't really think they do much anyway. I mean, even when you sort of buy a high-spec car, brand new and all that sort of jazz, some high-performance vehicle, they don't have catch cans from the factory. So, look, I think in this case, probably doing a bit more harm than good, and so let's just get rid of it and sort of revert it back to the original sort of PCV system. So at least we know we're starting from a known point that is probably not a bad one to start with. There we go, Gonski. Right, still running a little bit rough. Yeah, no, she's rough. Accessing the fuel pump on these VE Commodores isn't that easy. They are mounted in the tank, and to get to the tank you need to drop the whole subframe down and then get to the tank. But what some people do is cut a hole in the floor underneath the back seat, and there you go, that's another way of accessing it. A little bit rough, but yeah, I guess it saves having to pull the cradle out.
Where have you been all my life?
Not much. Not enough, eh?
No.
So getting this fuel pump out, pretty easy. You just basically just pop the fuel pipe off, take the electrical connection off if you can without breaking. And what we're going to do is we'll get our decent sized screwdriver, and we want to turn this ring here. And so I'm just going to smash it with a hammer. Here we go. So that ring comes off. And then the pump itself, you should be able to just give it a little bit of a lever, and then up she comes. Easy as. You can actually see why people do cut a hole in the floor. It does make it a lot easier. Okay. Be super careful because you are working with fuel. Okay. Just... Alright. That's the pump out. Don't forget to put this bottom one on. This goes to the sender on the other side. Pop this guy back in there. Pop the new guy back in there, I should say. Now obviously you don't want to use any power tools while you're doing this because they do make sparks and things. So I've got tons of fuel all over the place. Don't try this at home, kids. I'm sure you can find a cleaner way to do it, but hey. Chuck this guy in. Alright, it seems to be running a lot smoother now. I can give it some gas, and it is responsive, so that's good. That's way better than before. I still don't have any communication between the ECU and the TCM, so I'm not too sure what's causing that. I suspect it's probably wiring or something, so we'll get onto that. Now that this thing is actually idling fairly decent. I'm pretty happy with that. So I would say the main reason why it wasn't running so good before was the fuel pump, which was previously replaced. So I'm not too sure what happened there. Perhaps it was replaced with a bad one initially, and so bad and another bad doesn't lead to good. Right, so I've just pulled the TCU out and see if we can sort out this non-communication issue. So here is the connector, and so first thing I want to do is make sure that I've got a really good ground on this thing. So what I'll do is I'll use a meter, and this big guy here is the ground, and I'll see if we've got continuity to ground. Yep, so that's good. Good ground is important for any of these ECUs. Next thing is to measure the power. So with the key on, I just want to pick a couple of key terminals here. So the first one is, right, we just want to make sure we've got power going to the TCM. So measure pin 31. Okay, good 12 volts. So we've got a good ground and we have good power going to the unit itself. So I'm pretty comfortable that it's nothing to do with the power or the wiring at this stage. So I've pulled the TCM out, and I'm going to replace it with a known good one. See what happens. Right, so we'll turn the key off. We'll pop this guy in temporarily. Right, hold on. This is a lot better. So I can take it, put it into reverse, and it actually senses reverse now. Drive, third, back to park. Excellent. Okay, so that means that it was the TCM that was at fault. It actually happened to fail while I was testing out the engine. So fantastic. That's awesome. So we'll put this in place properly and crank it up and see what happens. Okay, engine light has gone. It can now sense all the gears. I think we've got a running and driving police car. So, first test drive is going really well. This thing, it hauls ass. I mean, like it's got a really strong engine. There's no sort of hesitation or anything like that. The fuel pump and the TCM looks like it was the issue, as well as probably the crank sensor, as well as probably the coils and the spark plugs. So it's a few different issues there. I think there's a couple of small things we've got to iron out, but I am absolutely over the moon with this thing. It is. Oh yeah, this thing goes good. Awesome.